One Chat. This time I'm coming at you live from England, sitting down with Shirley Battie. Shirley Battie is the author of 4 books. Her most recent book is Beyond the Stairs, and her specialty is talking about ETs. She refers to them as extracelestials, and we're going to get down to business and talk about these beings and what they're here to bring forward, especially through Shirley. Thank you for joining me, Shirley.
You're most welcome.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start it off by just talking about your book. Obviously, you've authored 4 books. We discussed this earlier. Beyond the Stairs, that is, it's a sort of a jambalaya of parables, as you said, stories about yourself. How did you feel about bringing that forward into publication, and what does it mean to you?
Well, it was an urge I couldn't ignore. It was like Spirit saying, you've got to put this into print. So whether it's old or not, I had to put it into print. So that's why the urge. Get it down now, before I die perhaps.
Get it done.
Get it done before you pop off.
Yeah. So, well, what is it in essence about, if you could encapsulate it for viewers who haven't heard that?
Well, it's all the connections I've had with Spirit while I've been in a meditative altered state. Right. So I go on journeys. I actually mind walk. When I go on these journeys, which I teach how to do this at the end of the book, by the way, I'm actually there. I'm so there in this other place that I feel as physical as I am here now. If I want to touch something or move something, I can. I am living it. A bit like being in a dream that you don't realise at the time is a dream. You're living it. You're actually real there. Obviously, I can't be physically, but that's how I feel. And each one takes me on a journey that I have no idea what's coming next. So it's excitement. It's a journey that leads me somewhere I don't know where I'm going first. But at the end of it, it's always like a parable, like a little, it's a fable's tale,
The moral of the story.
The moral of the story. There's a message. That's why it's in the book, because it's a message for the world. It's not for me personally. I mean, obviously I'm part of everything. So it is also for me personally, but it's more to be thought of as this is a message for anybody who can understand what this is all about. Really quite deep and profound quite often. Really quite profound sometimes, and you think, wow, where has that come from?
Right.
So I'm doing these journeys. Sometimes though, some of the journeys, and there's quite a few I've left out of this book by the way, are to do with what's going on now. So I started this in 1992. It's right up to 2012 now. You
started the book in 92?
I started these journeys in 92.
Okay. So the beginning of the book.
Because I transcribe what I always, if I don't speak what's happening, it's lost. I forget it. Right, so they taught me, Spirit have taught me, they said you must record this. So I record every single meditation that I have, unless I decide not to, but generally I do it. It's a journey that's to be remembered. I must record it. Then I have to transcribe it. They're all in the book now. But the later ones, the more relevant ones to today, is a lot to do, some to do with nuclear stuff. They take me places where there's nuclear stuff and I have to do things. They take me on board space. There's one beautiful one which I have to tell you about. Because I never know where I'm going, I've got to start somewhere, which is why usually the stairs. I use the sort of hypnosis method of the stairs. You're counting down. That's why the title is Beyond the Stairs. Okay. Right? Once you're beyond the stairs, you're really deep, then your journey starts. And I ended up in the jungle in this journey. Real jungle, and you could hear the screeching of the insects and, rustling.
An earthly jungle?
An earthly jungle, yeah, an earthly jungle. And I'm walking way through, and I won't tell you the whole story because it's too long, but I ended up in this clearing, and there was a spaceship there. The last thing you'd expect to find in a jungle.
Spaceship,
really,
pyramid,
but it was
beings.
guarded. It was guarded by the military. And I thought, this took me by surprise. And remember, I don't know what's going to come next. So I thought, well, I know I'm in a meditation as well. And I know they can't see me because I'm a spirit in this. So I walk straight past them, straight into the spaceship. And then I go somewhere. I'm recognised inside the spaceship, and I do all sorts of things. We go off, then come back, get out of the spaceship, and walk away again. And they never saw me, and they didn't know anything was going on. And that's the sort of stories that are coming up more now. So it's becoming more relevant to military, I suppose, spaceships.
Leaving your signature, as it were, I was there.
Well, there's a purpose, you see, behind everything. There's a purpose behind every single one of these journeys. It isn't just to go off and have a good time.
Right.
Save me from marrying the wrong man.
Oh,
One of
there you
these
go.
journeys, yeah.
Always a good save.
Do you want to hear that one? But you have to buy the book, which of
Yeah.
course isn't due out for another couple of months yet.
That's right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But once I get the cover done, which is the process at the moment, it can be pre-ordered.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically these stories that you have now, you're just sharing them. Almost like you've been building them up, obviously you've been having them since 1992, and now it's just gotten to the point where you just feel and know that there's relevancy in sharing these stories.
Yeah.
Because other people may be having similar experiences. They may not be documenting them as you
They
are.
can resonate with them, you see, and they say, oh yeah, now I understand why I had such and such.
And that resonance will obviously,
Yeah.
cause an emergence of a community, of whoever, whatever.
Yeah. There's a
Excellent.
teaching in there, you see, even though I don't recognise it.
Mhm.
And there's one in particular which I tend to read out if I'm doing a workshop or a talk, because it was just so beautiful, where I went down into a dungeon. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before to anybody here, but didn't want to be in this awful, dank, horrible place, dungeon. And there was a beautiful man in there, and he didn't belong in there. And I said, you don't belong in here. And I get emotional when I talk, even though this was years back. He said, you are to release me. He was beautiful. He said, the most glorious things are locked up inside, waiting for release. Take me up to the light. And it was Jesus, and I still get emotional, even now, because I can remember that. Take me up to the light. Oh.
Did you take him up?
Yeah, I did, yeah. But all these children came with him, and he said, they cannot do without me, and I cannot do without them. Take me up to the light. It's all about things being locked up inside. See the sort of message in that?
Message in a bottle, as it were.
You see, that's the sort of journeys that are contained in the book.
Wow.
And if they move others the way they've moved me, I mean, I've been to Africa in these journeys, children being maimed and starving, and I've been there, and you just have to read the book.
It's something to share, yeah.
It is something to share. It isn't something to keep inside, you see. And obviously going to Africa isn't anything to do with me, whether I, go to the shop, buy this dress or that dress, or give a talk. It's global. It is meant for people to listen to and watch and read, definitely.
And so it's coming out in
It's
the
moving.
next 2 months, you said?
Yeah, it should be. I don't know how fast publishers go, but it's moving in that direction.
Well, you'll have that up on your
But
website.
as soon as it's available, it will be on my Facebook, it'll be on my website. I will email everybody I know.
Everyone will know. I will share it. I'll put it in the link to this video.
It won't be a big secret. And it will be available on Kindle as well.
Okay.
So for people who only like Kindle, it'll be available there.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to reading it. And I also look forward to reading your other works. Obviously, we've just met a short period of time ago, but connected so well.
You
I
have
haven't
to
had
read
time.
Being Human.
Yeah. Well,
you will resonate
it's right
with that.
here. Yeah, absolutely. So that's your books. It's just amazing. As a writer myself and authoring my first book, it's exciting.
It's
exciting, but it's great to interact and hear your sharings for 4 books of similar nature that you shared about your experiences, because this is what I'm writing about as well. So now, aside from your books, your work, it's very profound. It's very different. Do you ever find yourself asking the question, I'm sure you have, why you? Because you do come through, you have profound channelings that you do. You're known. You can speak an extra celestial language. You speak ET.
Yes, several actually.
Yeah, these things aren't common. I haven't come across these in such depth or detail in my path. but I have with you, and I resonated with you, and in your delivery on these topics, and they're vast, and they're deep. And so, I'm about ready to open up, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. So, what is this about your path? Why you? And how does that resonate?
I think it goes soul history.
Of course.
I am very much into the soul's journey. Very much into it for everybody. Everybody's got a soul. I hope they've all got souls anyway.
Some could be soulless, but others are mindless.
No, well, they've all got a soul, whether they feel so, look at them differently or not. So the soul's journey for me is the most important thing. And presumably I'm incarnated here to help people realise that this life isn't the only life, that your soul continues. Right? And what the future holds for you is totally dependent on how you conduct yourself in the current now, in your current life. That's what has driven me, all right? Spirit have taught me, because previous to 1950, when I was 54, I wasn't really thinking along these lines. I mean, I was, but I wasn't doing anything. I was just had an interest. And Spirit said, why? You said, why me? They said, because you no longer have family commitments. That's quite important, because I'd done all the trauma stuff, 2 marriages is trauma. Right?
It could be if they're no longer together.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. 3 children, all sorts of trauma from childhood, actually, not just the marriages. Sometimes that seems to be par for the course for you to understand other people. I think it helps you understand others who've gone through trauma.
That empathy.
You have empathy. You understand. You can recognise it in another person. The same sort of experience. You say, oh yeah, been there.
You really
come
have.
through it. That's the main thing, because I've been close to suicide in some of these traumas, and I'm thinking, yeah, I've been there. And look at me now, I'm happy, and if that can happen for me, it can happen for others as well. So it's there to give other people courage. I think a lot of what I do does give people courage, because I'm nobody, in anybody's eyes, special,
Right.
I'm just another person who's got kids.
Just following something you're obviously blueprinted, destined to do. And you're passionate about this now. It's evolved into that.
It's my purpose. It's my mission.
Brings you joy, brings you
It's
passion.
more important.
There's excitement.
Yeah. And Spirit, as you will know, leads you where you're meant to be. We can always say no. We can always ignore them and say, oh no, I can't be bothered with that. I have said no to them once. And you will laugh at this, because 4 times they've asked me, they said, we'd like you to go to the northern reaches of Canada. I said, forget it. Find somebody else. Too cold in winter, too many mosquitoes in the summer. So I said, no, find somebody else. It's the only time I've said no to them.
Funny enough, here's Canada coming right back at you.
I know. Yeah, but I don't have to go in the winter.
Yeah, no.
I have been to Canada.
I just came there from the winter, so I don't.
You understand, yeah. Minus 28.
Well,
And
again,
Winnipeg
and
is
beyond.
worse. Yeah.
We have that little thing we factor in called the wind chill factor.
Yeah.
So if it's minus 28 with a wind chill, it could be minus 38 or minus 40.
Yeah, I can remember it being very, very cold there.
Yeah, freezing. So you have this this passion, this joy, and this excitement now for this, but it evolved. So the why you part, that's basically, you're saying that it's a predestined, blueprinted soul journey that you knew you were going to embark upon before you were born into this life.
Yeah.
And so you had the life experiences that brought you up to the point of, breaking free, as it were, and then fulfilling
Yeah, I
your
think,
greater purpose.
you see, if you're going to be a human being, anybody, whether you're a spirit worker or not, whether you're into this or not, you have to deal with being human. Because part of the reason for being on the planet Earth is to experience emotions. We have to experience the emotions to live, to be. Can you imagine being with anybody who has no feelings and no emotions?
They wouldn't exist.
That isn't growing. That isn't soul growth. So we're here to go through all the trials and the joys as well, and to be musical and to be artistic and to be an inventor, to be all the wonderful things that human beings are. They are wonderful. I mean, I think human beings are absolutely astounding in what they do. Really, I do. You watch a show, and all this wonderful music and dance. Do extraterrestrials do that? I don't know. Do you know they're missing out if they don't?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, but you know, we don't know that, do we?
Mhm.
So being human is great, I think. You've got to deal with the trauma and get yourself on a nice, serene base, trust base. Then you can do the work. That's my feeling. You can do the work because you're now sane.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've done it, you've been there, and now you can help others.
Right. You're also strongly connected to spirit very much,
Yeah.
to source. What is it that you feel is next for you, and how does that correlate to what you feel is next for us, us being
As a
collective?
species, as a human race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely advancement. I think we're being jumped up in our soul's journey.
And this isn't something that's, going to take 50 years. We're
No,
going to
no,
realize
no.
this potential.
We're going through this
now.
now.
Yeah.
We're actually, I don't like the word ascending, transcending. I think we're going to be a new root race of man.
Mhm.
We're going to leave the Adamic period and go into a much higher state of being a human race. We're being upgraded.
That's right.
Yeah, upgraded. I like that word, yeah.
Transcending to an upgrade. And you've also shared before an experience that you've had about someone, an earth being, a human, coming back from what we would call the future,
Yeah.
and letting us know that
Yeah.
we were on that path. Can you share that?
Yeah,
story?
that was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Because when I sit and connect, I am in a very, very different state. And spirit come into me.
Mhm.
But we didn't expect this one evening when this, I'd say E.T., but he wasn't really. Because he was our future human.
Yeah.
Right? So it can't be E.T. I don't know. He came into me. I could feel his head was enormous. And it was so heavy that because they actually incorporate properly into me, I had to literally hold my head to stop it rolling about. It was too heavy for the rest of me. And the energy was beautiful. It was so loving. And his purpose for coming was to prove to us that the human race had a future. Because he says, I am from your far future. A human, whatever state.
Direct lineage, direct physical
Direct
lineage.
lineage from the human species, yeah. And that we were going to be like him. And it was, I think it's because we were, at that particular time, a lot of people were concerned about, were we going to annihilate ourselves? You know, we're on the endangered species list, basically.
How long ago was it?
2 years back.
Okay, so recent.
Fairly recent, yeah, fairly recent. But what was convincing was that everybody in the room felt him. And said the other reason he came is because whenever an entity comes back from wherever, they bring their essence. They can't help it, their energy field, their essence with them. And he said, contained in anybody's essence, in mine as well, is all the knowledge, is the quality of you, is in that essence. And because he filled the room, he said the essence is penetrating the walls of this room, it's penetrating all you here, and you will then contain some of what I know. Oh, it was magic. And we felt honoured, quite honestly. We felt absolutely blessed to have this being come forward.
So that much knowledge and it being the far future, can you put a timeline that you may feel?
For him to evolve to that state, we're talking a long time, I think.
Hundreds and hundreds of years? Or
Yeah,
thousands?
I would think. Yes, I would think definitely, if not more. Because we just had this upgrade, or we're going through the upgrade now into a higher state, 5th dimension, something like that. There were 144 dimensions. How far ahead is he? I don't know. And we'll get other upgrades. And I always say that our extra celestials are constantly upgrading us. The Pleiadians, putting ideas into our head, which we can take up or not. And if you're awake to it, you'll take them up. You take up these ideas. That's how inventions come about.
Right.
And how new creativity comes about, because the idea comes in. Where does it come from? It's coming from our space friends, I think, personally. And we're being upgraded all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When we're spiritually upgraded, that's when we make a leap. We've got to be It's not enough to be technically upgraded. It's got to be spiritual. You know, soul's journey. The soul's journey's got nothing to do with technology. It's to do with the quality of the soul, the God force, if you like. So yeah, if the two can go alongside, brilliant.
So that kind of correlates to what people are saying now, and we know that we're in the emergence of the golden age, which would make a lot of sense, because if we're going to this upgrade, it would obviously be, you know, a transformation.
A much better time.
A much better time.
Yeah.
Now, to get to the tangible, palatable evidence of this, our DNA upgrading, have you gleaned any insight, or have they shared with you to do with our DNA crystallizing? There's a lot of clout around people saying there's a new species of children coming in.
They've been coming for a long time.
They have been coming for a long time.
Yeah, they're adults.
Yeah.
But they're still coming.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, kids are still coming. It's a wave of them. If, plugging the book again now, if you read Being Human, there's a section in there where because I'm mind travel, I can go on the other side, you see, where all the spirits are waiting to be born. And there was all these kids waiting to be born. And you should hear their conversation. I put it in the book about whether they want to come or whether they don't want to come, and how they choose those who are going to be the special kids, and how they choose the mothers, because they've got to come into an environment where they can be assisted, right? So they choose the parents as well, the mothers in particular. They choose the mothers, and in one area, they showed me the mothers being taught how to deal with the kids when and these were only, the mothers at that time were teenagers, young teenagers, 12, 14s. And they were preparing them to be future mothers for these special children. And I've written it all in the book because it's so...
It's like they had a script and they were just being directed from a young age, this is what you'll do, and this is how to do it, prepare.
Mean, because you see, if you're an evolved soul, all souls get counsel before they reincarnate anyway. You know, they say, do you think you can handle this? Oh, yeah, I can handle that. And then you come down and find it's a bit tough. Right, it's tougher than you expect.
Always is.
Yes, it's usually tougher than you expect. But the one urging of the soul is to get closer to source. That's inbuilt into every soul. The striving to go back to the source. It's going to take a while, but it's like the sperm has got to find its way to the egg. That's inbuilt into it. By default, it can't help itself. Same idea. The soul, when it gets on the other side, the only thing it wants is to be upgraded. And whatever it takes, and if it means coming back and having a difficult life to do it, it will do it. It'll say, yeah, I want to get a few more brownie points.
So these upgrades are happening all the time, regardless?
I think they're happening all the time. They're happening now. I did a reading for a lady in Washington, D.C. some time back. I think I've written about that in the book. And her daughter, who was only a baby at the time, they told me about her, and they said, this child is one of the special children, and she has a different DNA already.
Right.
I'm going
a different species. This is what they're saying. They're saying almost since '99.
But the woman, the mother, she was so excited because she said, I know, because for whatever reason, they had a DNA test on this child. And the doctor said, oh, this is, I can't understand this is different.
So this actually happened.
So it's actually happening.
This is in Washington.
And
you wrote this in your book?
And I wrote it in the book.
Being Human?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I obviously don't name the person because, that would be wrong. But,
Well, there's also many more of those children out there. That was one, documented case.
Well, there was another one, again, it was in Washington, where this young girl, she was only about 17, 18. She drove 2 hours from some outlying place to have a reading with me. She didn't know me, and I'd never met her before. She was told she had to come have this reading. And the spirit of her child-to-be showed himself. He was magnificent. And he said he'd come specifically to say that he was going to be born to her. She didn't even have a boyfriend at the time. But he was going to be her child. He was to be called, and he gave her the name. And he said he's going to be one of the special children. And he was going to be so powerful that he could dominate. And if she didn't discipline him, if she spoiled him, it would ruin it for him.
Okay.
Because then he would be an obnoxious kid and nobody would like him. He wouldn't be able to do his work. Because he was going to be a very strong character. he wanted specifically to say, look, you have to discipline me. Otherwise, I'll keep going. And he wouldn't know he was a special child until he was about 7, 12. See? So Spirit have their way of letting you know. So yeah, these special kids are here, no question. And I meet them from time to time. They show me in meditation sometimes. They say, you're going to be introduced to this person, and somebody will ring up and say, oh, you've got to come and meet my child, you know.
Yeah.
And I do, and it's always somebody special.
Well, I'm working, funny, I'm working with a couple of these children, and one of them specifically has a similar story that she shared with me about what you're saying, where she came before birth and introduced to the mother and said,
they have an agenda. I don't worry about for them because they're evolved souls. They wouldn't be coming if they were going to fall down on the job. You know, you have to have trust that this is all going to pan out.
So do you see them, because again, I'm doing a lot of work with these children, with the new energies that they're working with, that we all are. Do you see them coming up soon, as in, you know, young teens and coming in, making themselves known on a global scale?
Some of them are doing that already.
Yeah, I can see them. I can see them coming now, coming to me, obviously, through music and film, through these creative arts. You'll see them out there. There's young philosophers that are 6, 7 years
exactly
old.
What I was going to say.
Yeah.
They're not all going to be coming and saying, oh, you know, you've got to learn how to meditate and open your chakras and all the rest. They're going to come with a whole variety of interests, of fields of expertise. Some will be scientists, some will be artistic, some will be musical, some will be on the spiritual side only. They'll all have different fields of interest, and they're born not just the civilized countries like America or in England or Europe. They'll be in Africa, they'll be in India, they're everywhere. Yeah, they will be everywhere. They're surfacing all over the place.
They're here in new ways.
Amazing people. What did they say to me once in a meditation? They said, there will be geniuses in that time.
Oh, we see it now.
Doesn't that get it?
Yeah.
Yes, there will be geniuses.
Yeah.
And America in particular as well. Yeah. America's going to go through a bit of a rough ride, but out of it will become the strength that they have in them, because Americans are very strong.
Now, so everybody is, you just said America going through a rough ride. Everybody's holding on to, wanting to know what's imminent, what's happening, what are these new energies bringing.
It's all in the book.
It's in the book.
All the predictions are in the book.
There's a lot of talk about shifts and everything. What's your personal opinion as to, you know, from the information you've gotten through Source and these ETs, about what sort of changes? We know it's Earth changes. We know the economy and politics are changing, but something like a physical shift, something happening in the economy, something happening with politics. What's your personal opinion on what you think is coming soon?
I think something has to happen on a geographical level, on a climatic level. I think something has to happen because people won't change unless they're forced to in their daily lives. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we can gauge that by the severity.
Stay with the status quo. As long as they're comfortable, they don't want to move, change anything. So in a way, it's something they're going to have a shaking, so that they will be forced to think in a different way. Again, it's in the book, because they said, it is only when man has nowhere else to go will he get down on his knees and pray. And I think that might be the state with a lot of places and people.
I feel that too. I don't feel it for everybody, but I feel that it's got to go down. There's contrast.
It's got to get
There's
to the
different
bottom
levels.
first.
Yeah.
We were doing the circle one night, and you know, we often send healing to certain places, and we've been doing that over the years, and it's amazingly effective. Believe you me, it is. But there was trouble going our favour. It's everywhere now, but they said, do not send healing to these places now, because they have to run their course. Because if they don't run the course, the people are not going to change. They will just go back to status quo. They just go back to where it was, and that isn't the idea. You know, things have got to move. And you notice it's happening all over the planet now, isn't it? It's spreading. So that's what I mean about the rough ride. But the outcome is very, very good. It's a reshuffling.
Yeah.
Those who put, another word, I love their little sayings, so they're all in there. Those who have put themselves in the highest places have the furthest to fall. And we're not talking about high-rise buildings, we're talking about those in power, you know.
Well, you talk about parables, and a great one, you know, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
Same idea, isn't it?
Same thing.
So that's a sort of shake-up. So for those up there, high ones, you know, those in power, it's not going to be a comfortable ride because they have the most to lose. You see, those who haven't got it, it's not going to change them. Like these starving people in Africa, things will go on much the same for them because they already know how to deal with adversity. They already know how to survive without electricity and without whatever. So that, you know, it won't be as bad for them.
Yeah.
Sounds awful, doesn't it? But it won't be.
Well, like you said, it's that shuffling. The shuffle needs to happen, or else
shuffling.
they'll go back to the status quo. They'll go back to the positions of power.
But you see, the strong ones, and I'm thinking again now of America, where they have tornadoes and hurricanes and floods and God knows what else, that we don't get so much in England. I'm amazed at the courage of these people who have their homes wiped out from under them, because the whole community gets together and helps. They help each other, and they bounce back.
Right.
They do it every time, and I'm thinking, wow, you know, that's real strength there, really strength. Could we do it? I don't know.
Oh, we'll be tested.
We'll be tested, yeah, but the end result's good. And if you have serenity, this is why I go on the soul thing. That sounds awful, doesn't it? Because I do clairvoyance as well. You know, I have done the platform clairvoyance, but mainly to prove to people that life continues. You've been so many times, you've died lots of times before, and you keep coming back. So what's the big deal? You just keep coming back. You know, life
it's hard to believe.
which, you know, if you want to come back, you can come back. It's not the end of everything. So nothing can hurt you, actually.
Right, that feeling of invincibility.
The only thing that can hurt you is your own self-feeling. If you feel bad about yourself, that's the only thing that can.
You are your greatest judge.
You are, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to judge you.
No, certainly not.
So, you know, I try to put that over to people so that when things go wrong for them, they don't go into despair. It's just part of life. Role play. You know about role play. I mean, you come back incarnated and you've got this little family soul group. You say, right, next time I'm going to be the villain. And you're going to be the child that gets this, that, or the other. And you're going to be, and you're role playing. All right? So, right, okay, that fits. We'll go, down we go with incarnation.
Action.
But if you can hold that in your mind while you're living that life, this is just a role I'm playing. When it's all over, I go back and we all discuss how it went and how it didn't go, and you know.
Then you stand in the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part to get to. That's where you read all the books to get to. That's what we're going towards.
I think so, yeah.
And it's the hardest journey.
Yeah.
That's the path. That's the way
It's
to get into that
exciting,
eye
though.
of the storm. Yeah.
It's very, very exciting. You need never be bored. On this planet, you should never be bored.
Oh, funny thing.
Yeah.
With that being said, you have direct communication with ETs and your guides and spirit, many different forms of source. A lot of people right now are coming forward and looking to connect to their guides more, looking to connect to their higher self more. People are wanting to learn how to channel because other channels
This
are
is where
coming
my teaching
forward.
comes in.
Yeah. So when you see these people that want to connect to source, there's obviously an emergence. There's a growing amount of people who want to know. They want to know who's around them, how can they call upon them. So do you see that as increasing in numbers as far as...
so.
Yeah.
Because I run workshops.
Well, there we go. She also runs workshops.
You see,
yeah.
and I do teach well. That's one thing I know I can do well.
Yeah.
And people do get results.
So you think it's happening, like let's say on a global scale, when
Yeah.
people are coming forward, they're actually making the
You
bridge
mean
of
you're not going to send
communication?
them all to me?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to do a webinar together.
Yeah, that's
Exactly. So do you foresee that though? Most people, because I know I personally speaking, am making a stronger connection to all the beings around me, but more specifically with my higher self. And so I sense that. So those that are out there that are wanting to break through the barrier, the veil, we can say like it is coming, and you will notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will notice it. They told me years back that it was people who did the sort of thing I do and you do were in the minority, and you didn't really pass it around very much, be careful who you talk to, because they don't understand. Now, Spirit said, there will come a time when those who do not do this will be in the minority, and the majority will be all connecting with Spirit, into mediumship and all the rest of it. So those who are not doing it will be losing out, frankly, because they will be the minority, which is good. And it's already branching out anyway. I do a workshop which gets full every single time called Reaching for the Stars, with that idea of making that connection. There is a need. People do want to reach for something more than. It's in human nature, it's inbuilt into human nature to want to learn more. It's a drive in them. This is why we've come from 8-man right the way up, because of that drive that's inbuilt. By default, we can't help ourselves.
Coming from making the connection yourself, obviously, this started fairly recently for you in your life, after the series of events and the series of your life. Can you offer any words of courage or support to people that are seeing themselves making the connection, doing the work, and opening themselves to that allowance?
Yeah. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Absolutely enjoy the ride, because it's a good one.
It's a ride. That's it. It's a ride,
right?
Rides
Enjoy the
start
ride.
and they end.
Yeah.
You don't. The ride does.
Yeah. It's wonderful. There will be, the encouragement is, there is a good outcome. Right? There is a good way. I gave a talk recently on timelines, and there was at that time quite a lot of, which direction are we going? Are we going down the negative, or are we going down the positive? There are enough people, positive now, working, thinking more spiritually, to take us all down the timeline of a good outcome.
Right.
And those who are not will go down the other one. And they will keep reincarnating in third dimensional. And they will have to pick up the pieces. They'll get there eventually, but not this right time round. So it's up to everybody, really, to say, yeah, I do want to connect with Spirit, and I do want to be better than I think I can be, even.
Do you feel there's importance with the resonance of where you belong in the shift? Because there is no right or wrong, as we know, but the people that are not making the shift and not going to move towards, the new status quo, as it were, of this spiritual openness, there's nothing wrong with the others as well. So there are some who are, let's say, in the middle, that are trying to, grasp more of the oneness and also come down and grab more of the ones that aren't making it.
Yeah.
Now, part of my work is to not alleviate this, but to just ease it into a state of neutrality where you don't have to do anything. Each soul, whether it's a family member or it's a loved one or it's a sibling, it doesn't matter who they are. If that's what they choose for themselves, then their soul picked it, and as you just said, the outcome is good regardless.
Regardless, because every soul is on a journey. Whether they're at the sort of beginning of understanding and awareness, or whether they're in the middle, or whether they're more aware, it doesn't matter. It's still their journey, and they will reach where they have to be in their time, in their own, at their own pace, if you like. It's not wrong, any of it, at all. And a lot of people think to be able to be elevated, upgraded, you have to know about chakras, you have to know about vibration, you have to be able to connect with Spirit, you have to pray, you have to do all these have tos. None of that. Some of the most spiritual people I know don't know a thing about any of this, but it's the way they conduct themselves.
Right.
Are they nice to other people? Are they helpers? Do they, I've got a guy up the road here, always helping other people, but he wouldn't know anything about this at all. Probably scared the pants off him. But he's a truly evolved soul because of how he is. It's not what you do, it's how you are, But you and I and others like us are the helpers to sort of help others become more aware, if you like.
Right.
But there are those who don't need us because they are already evolved souls, just having their particular role play this time round.
Right.
Right? So we're all from one source. What we might call the good and the bad and the middle, all one source. And in inbuilt into every soul is the desire to get back to source.
Mm-hmm. If it makes sense, the higher on earth, let's say, the ones that are grounding and living more oneness with that knowledge of the chakras and the prayer and all of these things.
It's all helpful.
It's all helpful. So those, they don't need to bring it down and spoon feed it, as it were, to the others who aren't getting it, because they don't necessarily need it the way that they're getting it. Just like our higher guidance or the ETs aren't going to come down and spoon feed it to us,
No.
because they know that we're perfect in our path anyway.
Where we're meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's lovely to be able to.
You can't really spoon feed if
You can't
there is no
spoon
spoon.
feed. You've got to have to want.
Yeah.
The desire has to be there in the first place. And
Mm-hmm.
people come to me in the workshop and they say, "Oh, what should I do? You know, what's my path?" Oh, so I say to them, "Well, where are your interests? What drives you?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Spirit aren't going to say, "You must do this, you must do that." It's you decide what you want to
You
go for.
know. You always
You know
knew.
what your drive is. Once you've got that in your head, this is what I want, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to learn, then they'll come forward and help you.
Mm.
Then their own intuition would send them into groups and workshops and what have you. But it's got to come from them first.
Yeah. In that state of joy, in that state of passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that, sends off the beacon, as it were, to like, hey, come
Yeah.
work with me. And then that's when it happens. But it's also, I've noticed what is more, it eases you into the changes that you need to make. Because if you're in that state of passion and joy, and then all of a sudden they say something to you that's going to cause a shift, you're like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Whereas
They can
if you were in this
accept it.
rigid state, and then they say change, you're like, wait a minute, I just got used to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at their pace,
Mhm.
honestly.
Mhm.
But there are ways to shift, but you've got to be ready for that shift. It's a bit like if you try to put somebody it's down to vibration as well, because as you grow, you vibrate differently. This is part of the DNA changing as well.
Mhm.
Every atom of a molecule of your body vibrates at a different rate the more you connect to a higher source. If you try to put somebody who isn't vibrating well, maybe they've just gone out and murdered somebody, I don't know,
Right.
that
Something easy and
something
light.
like that, yeah. And you try to move them into a higher rate of being, they would destroy them. They can't go there.
Mhm.
Because they're vibratory. It's like putting a very weak wire into a strong current.
I just did that with my shaver here in
See?
Europe.
Yeah, but
I
that's
blew it
the-
out. My shaver's broke.
That's the analogy. If you try to put something that is too weak to stand the current of a higher force, you're not doing them any favours, because they would burn it. Actually, they wouldn't be able to get them there.
Mhm.
And if you force it, they'll burn out. That would be the end. Really, you can't do it. It won't happen. What I've discovered with the connections with spirit, with the guides more than the extraterrestrials really, is that even though they're, say, up there, wherever up there is, doing their work, they're striving too.
Right.
They have to learn.
The universe is evolving.
It's evolving all the time. They're trying to get upgraded as well. So their work, how they do their work will depend on how far they can go. I mean, how far is the highest?
Mhm.
It's a hell of a... We were told that once you do reach the absolute optimum, yeah, the utmost, you can't go any higher. You go back to source.
Right.
You merge with the source again, which helps the source to grow because of what it's received from those journeys, so that the source in itself is improved. Then it sends out more, but at a higher level.
Mhm.
You see, so it's
Yeah,
constant feeding all the time.
Mm.
It's quite amazing, really.
Well, when you were just talking about that and going back to source, and that all the beings in the universe are obviously evolving, everything is constantly moving forward
Always.
in some way. So would you say that one of the optimal ways of teaching us is by those ETs coming forward and telling us that, no, look, we're not the creation source, we don't really know that ourselves because we're on our evolutionary path.
Everybody's
And
on that.
as humans, it's almost like I see it as one level is, okay, the ETs, the higher evolved beings, they can give us technology, help us, heal us, upgrade our DNA, whatever the case may be. But also, they're telling us, yes, we can do those things for you, but not in ignorance. We'll do those things, but know that we ourselves are evolving. So implant that in your human minds and your human soul that you're going to go beyond us, with us, and beyond that.
Yeah.
So that in itself, I think, just meditating on that is profound, because the ETs are just like us, one and equal, just like us.
Oh, absolutely.
Just on that different level. You're evolving too, but you know, you guys are real excited about the intermediate level that's coming up next and the next, and it's like, just open your mind to
expand, go outside the box of your mind, they told me. You have got to expand your thinking beyond even the ETs, beyond this universe. There's so much more than this one universe. There are loads of universes, and every single planet, every single planetary being has their own spiritual source as well, their own angels, their own hierarchy of spiritual beings, but it all comes under the one. You know, they're not, because they're ETs, they have nothing to do with Jesus. Jesus is, he's an ET. Sorry, perhaps I shouldn't say that, but he's an ET.
He'll correct you.
Did you know that Adam was of the violet race? That there have been races on this planet before of different colours? Orange, green, violet. We've obviously still got the red and the yellow. I think, can't remember the other names, but the different coloured races have been on this planet. We've had giants on the planet.
Right,
You know, and we're just part of the chain. Lovely it is.
Yeah, well, it's an evolution. It's
it's
something to
a
look
joy,
forward to.
Don't you think it's a joy?
Yeah, and we're not going to obviously be like in this art incarnation per se in 1,000 years when we get to see what the Earth is like then, but we can come back. So knowing that, and powering that, with the way you're living now, that should enrich how you live, and just live this life fully, because this is
live
this
in the now.
Yeah,
you can't ever get the now back.
Yeah,
that feeling of being in the now, you can't get that back.
Yeah,
you know, even if you time travel, you're never the same time traveling back, because you've got knowledge of ahead. So you can't actually be exactly the same, even though you go through that same time period as the same person. You have in your soul's memory of being more.
Right.
Think about that, because what does that say about who we are now? Have we already been in the future? And have we, and are these star children, coming back from the future into the now to be of assistance?
Well, if there is only one now, then that's absolutely right, because there is no time.
Absolutely, yeah. You see? It is.
Now we get it.
Yeah. We were told, because I do soul readings, people's journeys of their soul, that if it was considered advantageous to their soul growth to reincarnate back in time, they could do that. There's a few restrictions, but they could do that. Supposing you wanted to be reincarnated at the time of the plague, because your soul growth would be the greatest, because that's all that's important, is the soul growth. You'd be counselled, and you say, right, okay, I'm going to reincarnate back in time then, at the time of the plague, and you would decide to do that.
It's kind of like you have a DVD collection of your favorite movies.
Yeah, which one shall I watch?
Which one shall you watch? Oh, I've seen this one a few times, or I've already seen that one, but you're like, no, you know what? Yeah. And you watch it again because you like it, you enjoyed it, but when you watched it, you learned something else about the movie. You saw a different aspect.
Same idea, yeah. So you see, everything is flexible, really. Yeah. It's wonderful, don't you think?
Makes me want to open up my DVD collection. Or my Blu-ray collection.
We're not rigid. Yeah. We think we're rigidly set. We're not. Actually, we don't really exist. I know that sounds...
what does that mean? But we understand.
You do understand.
Yeah.
That they showed me once, because there's so much stuff which I haven't actually put out anywhere. I was in Australia, and they showed me how Uluru came about.
Okay. I'm not familiar with
Uluru. No, Ayers Rock?
Not familiar.
Oh, I don't know. It's a huge monolith in the middle of the red centre of Australia.
Okay. Massive.
Sacred place. Anyway, they said that it had been constructed by mind, celestial minds. They had condensed matter using their minds. Think about that. Because it's all matter, it's all energy. They condensed energy so that it was solid and put it there. And if you've ever seen Uluru, you'll know how big that is.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
it's quite amazing. But it's the concept of these spiritual beings using energy. This is like an apple, you see, that's what they would do with an apple. They would condense energy into something solid so that it existed as a solid. But only the mind can do that.
And then therefore it existed.
And so therefore it exists.
Sort of like us. Let's say the soul experiences itself through the mind. The
Yeah.
mind then creates the molecular physical body
Yeah.
by condensing the molecules down to matter.
The mind is more powerful than we ever give it credit for.
Yeah.
Or we ever use, basically. I think it'd be scary if we did all know, because once the knowledge was commonplace, it would be used in the wrong way,
Right.
by the wrong people. You know.
Well, as you said, that
We're
gets
not-
shuffled around. We
yeah.
would eventually
We're
learn.
not, well, eventually, but we're not at the moment spiritually responsible enough.
Mhm.
We don't consider consequences of our actions enough.
Right.
You know, we think, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And it isn't always such a good idea.
No. But the future is.
Oh yes,
The
well we're
future is
growing,
bright.
aren't we?
That's right, yeah.
More responsible, I hope.
Mhm.
And I think it's only coming to me now, actually. Earlier I was saying about how I am in awe of people who can do this, that and the other, and how wonderful they all are, and I can't do any of those things. But I think where I come from is getting the profound stuff down. You know, receiving the profound stuff, the deeper meanings of things.
And regurgitating it so simply.
so that somebody can understand it, yeah.
Mhm.
That's what I'm feeling now at the moment.
No, it is.
They're more or less saying, you know, don't put yourself down, you know.
Yeah.
Way of
Lift yourself up because you're simply speaking, as it were, right?
And I have to
Yeah.
speak, you see, otherwise it
Yeah.
stays within, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's good. So I guess sort of a closing note, we can say that people, watching, that are researching, whatever level they are on the path of integrating more oneness, more spirit into their life, that every timeline is good, every future is good, and every soul journey is just the experience for source. Whether it's good or bad, that's perceived through the mind. We are just here experiencing for source.
Yeah.
And when we ground ourselves in that real knowing, then life becomes magic. Then we move mountains.
Yeah.
Then we move matter.
And don't stress.
Don't stress.
Don't stress about it.
Don't sweat it, man.
Don't
Do
sweat
they
it.
sweat, by the way?
I don't know. I wouldn't know.
Just don't sweat it. Don't stress it. What would you say to them? Well, thank you so much, Shirley, for joining me and having me in your lovely home. I'm meeting so many people here in England, so just wonder who's next.
Thank you, Danielle, for the opportunity, to meet up and talk.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Lovely to connect. Love the energy exchange. Pure pleasure. And again, your book is Beyond the Stairs.
Beyond the Stairs.
Yeah.
And I reckon another couple of months and it'll be out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the
that's my
meantime,
estimate.
they can definitely go to your website, which we'll have in
Oh,
the link
yes.
below this video, and check out.
Yeah.
You've authored a
And
few other books.
yeah, I have, yeah. The first one you can't get anymore because, as I say, it's out of print.
That's right.
But people are still asking for it.
Excellent.
So, maybe it'll resurface when the publishers lost their
Yeah.
copyright to it. But,
Perfect.
yeah.
New information is always on the way. So this concludes my interview with Shirley Battie over here in England. It was a pure pleasure. I hope you enjoyed it, and be on the lookout for more as I start my globe-trotting adventures.
Good on you.
One love.
I'll have to stop myself wanting to hug everybody. That's
I was just getting, well, whatever. Let's just hug now anyway.
Oh, that was wonderful. Well done.
Your special soul you are.
That was wonderful.
I got that.